Hi, this is Phoenix City Councilman Sal DiCiccio, and this is On the Issues. This program, I'm telling you, is going to rock your world because I'm going to show you things that are happening behind the scenes that you never get a chance to see. Matter of fact, things that even the news media doesn't even pick up. You've heard where the City of Phoenix is going to raise your property tax by $37 million. Let me cover with you the basic facts so that you understand that you and your family are going to be paying this money for no reason. I'm going to walk you through what's been happening, I'm going to give you a little history, then I'm going to show you the government waste that goes behind it and how government profits on the poor. So I'm going to show you a few things here today that you don't get a chance to see. But let me give you at least an example of what's happening around the country right now. What you're seeing around the country is an incredible amount of anguish, disenfranchisement with the political system. You're seeing on the right and the left, where the Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, and liberals are finally starting to see that possibly their government's not working for them the way it needs to work for them. You're seeing this across the country. It's not just here in Arizona. Because what is happening right now, the insiders who have controlled the government for so long have literally designed it so that they are protecting themselves. And by protecting themselves, they're taking money out of the pockets from you, and they're paying themselves all these dollars, these millions, if not billions of dollars across the country. And what you've seen across the country, you've seen it in other places where people have been rioting. They've been saying things like, hey, we're not getting our fair share. And then you got other people that are saying, well, hey, we got billions of dollars coming your way. They're both right. The poor have not been getting the services that they deserve. They don't get it. Even though we talk about it, they don't get it. And I'm going to show you how we got there. But before we get there, let me show you a little bit of what's been happening in the last year in the City of Phoenix. In the last year alone, the City of Phoenix now wants to raise your property taxes. That's going to be in July, first week of July. They want a $37 million a year increase in your property tax, even though the City of Phoenix has the highest revenue that we've ever had in our history, and we have a $60 million surplus. And you're thinking, well, that's not logical. Why do they want to provide, get more taxes out of my pocketbook, right? Let me show you what's been happening. $37 million a year in a property tax increase that the Phoenix City Council, the politicians, are going to be voting on this year. This is on top of a $31.5 billion mass transit tax increase for trains that have been outdated. Most people have moved over to the Uber system or Lyft. That's really the new trend. Places like that in California are already starting to look at that. But instead, the City of Phoenix put in outdated a train system, $31.5 billion. They've also increased your water tax by $15 million a year. That all happened this year. And then third, which most people in the public don't understand what occurred here, there's an $8 million a year commuter tax. And you're thinking, well, what is that? So we want to encourage people to use and commute. We want them to carpool when they go to the airport, right? So what's happened, the City of Phoenix realized that a lot of these parking lots that are outside of the City of Phoenix airport area, they're getting full up because the City of Phoenix is so expensive to park there. So what the City of Phoenix did is they said, well, let's charge this commuter tax on them. And then that passed this year too in a very slim vote on a 5-4 vote. Matter of fact, the water tax increase that occurred this year, you won't start seeing that until this summer. That $15 million a year, that was another 5-4 vote. But let's evaluate where it's going, what's happening here with that. Let's start here, because I want to show you an example of government waste. The City of Phoenix, in the City of Phoenix, the most expensive private sector apartment complex at 26th Street and Camelback, private sector, was sold at $277,000 a door. That's per door. That's in the private sector, right? Average housing in the City of Phoenix is right around $200,000 a home. Not to be outdone, the City of Phoenix is building affordable housing, apartments on 24th Street in Van Buren on property that we already own for $281,000 a door. I got into a discussion with some of my other colleagues. I said, look, this is an outrage. Because not only are you taking money from the people who, literally work hard, they're hardworking taxpayers, you're taking more than you need, but you're also not providing the amount of services to the poor. We can build those for less than $150,000 a unit. So why not do that? That was a close vote here as well. Matter of fact, we ended up trying to stop it. That didn't happen. So the city of Phoenix is now spending $32 million of your money on housing that they call affordable housing at 24th Street in Van Buren, more expensive than the most expensive apartment building ever sold in the city of Phoenix at $277,000 a door on 26th Street in Camelback. And the question is where's the money going? And this is really what's happening around the country right now. The government has been profiting on the poor. They've been taking monies away. We literally could provide double the housing for the poor that we've deemed necessary that they need to have. They need to have a home, right? And people know I'm conservative, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're right or left, conservative or liberal, money matters. And if you're using it and wasting it on things like this and not providing the services that you promised the public that you wanted to do, you run into a problem. Sooner or later, you run out of money, and then you don't provide the services. And then that's why you're starting to see all these things happening at the national level, that there are same things that are happening here at the local level. The politicians are not listening to the public. They're not doing all the right things that they're supposed to be doing. A lot of these things, this is all done by self-interest. That's what caused this to occur. So the city of Phoenix now took in all these millions of dollars, kept it and distributed it amongst themselves, instead of providing these services to the poor. And the question you run into is, how are we getting here? What is really happening behind the scenes? Again, the news media is just not giving you the right information. These are all numbers that came from the city of Phoenix. These are their numbers, not mine. These are the things that the research we've done. It's taken us months to dig into this. But if you look at it, look at our pension liability and our pension cost. $3.5 billion in unfunded pension liability. You're thinking, what does that mean? That means we don't have the money. Unfunded means we don't have the funds appropriated to fund the pension costs that are coming in the future. So what's happening in the city of Phoenix is that we don't have the funds to do this, and we're taking more and more money out of your pocketbook. If you look at our retirement costs every year, it's over $320 million a year we spend on just retirement costs alone. So you're thinking now, wow, Sal, you've been able to show me the problem. What's the real solution here? Well, how do we solve this? I wouldn't be coming here if I didn't have a solution for that. It comes down to this, and it's really simple. It's no different than how you run your own household. The city of Phoenix has no strategic plan. We don't. You would think that we are. We're a $3.5 billion operation with no true strategic plan of where we want to go, where we want to take it, what is strategic, what isn't, and how we should be partnering with people in the private sector, nonprofits, which will be next here. Those are the entities that know what they're doing. We shouldn't be into every business. So every time we take on a City of Phoenix employee, we have now committed ourselves to 50 years of making sure we take care of them. That's fine to be able to do that. Nobody here has to lose their job at the City of Phoenix. Any new jobs that are open ought to be looked at through a public-private managed competition system. What does that mean? It just basically says find the best way to deliver that service. The City of Phoenix has about 200 employees that we have that fixing cars, changing the oil. We have an average cost per employee for over 13,000 employees at $110,000 per person. It's unsustainable. It creates a structural debt. So the best way to handle this is to look at every job function and say whether or not we should be doing that internally. Everybody still keeps their job. It'll probably take 7 to 9 years or more to solve, but everybody here gets protected, everyone's safe that way, but we start looking at new models, new ways of delivering the same service. Most of us would agree that we want to keep our police and fire under the government control. But landscapers, they should be able to be looked at especially when you're looking at a cost of $110,000 per person. An oil change is an oil change. We shouldn't be doing that type of business if it can be done better, cheaper, and faster in the private sector. So this is really the solution. I'm going to have a more in-depth program when we're starting to talk about the property tax and why you should vote, and literally start contacting your local politician and tell them, no way do we want this tax on us. Because when you start looking at this, and you look at all the government waste that's going on at the city of Phoenix, and there's a real solution to solve it, that is the direction that we need to be going on in the city of Phoenix. My next program is going to rock your world. I'll tell you, it's going to be exciting. We're going to be talking with the American Cancer Society, so stay tuned and listen in as to, and I want you to start guessing what could be the second leading cause of death in Arizona when it comes to cancer. Think about it. We'll see you in a few seconds.
I was sitting in my oncologist's office one day and realizing that I was very blessed in that I don't have a lot of the same infirmities that many cancer patients have. So I began looking for ways I could give back. You okay?
Yeah.
I saw a informative speech about road to recovery, and I thought, you know, that is something I could really do at my own pace whenever I needed to.
Becoming one of my favorite cars right here. How did it help me? Oh my God. Where you want me to begin? It's part of me being alive today. I was running out of transportation. I had all my people. They was doing as much for me as they possibly could, you know, without losing their jobs, you know. I had to find some help somewhere, and couldn't ask for nothing no better.
You may feel blessed by what we have done for you, but believe me, I feel 10 times more blessed by just being allowed to be your carrier.
Yeah.
This enables patients like Mr. Andrews, who otherwise would have a very, very difficult time getting the care that they need. Not only do they get the care that they need, they have a social support system as well as help with transportation or whatever they need in order to get here and receive the treatment and help cure their cancer.
There's a certain commonality with cancer survivors because until you go through it, you don't always know the fears, the anxieties, the celebrations that you have, just meeting each new day the best you can. So it means a great deal to me to be here with Wade. And as I was telling him in the car, a lot of people don't understand that you may give away to somebody, but you always wind up getting tenfold back. So it's been a real blessing to me.
If you need help, it's there. You know, it's there. You don't have to get on your knees and beg for it. All you got to do is let them know you need it. It's there. It's every day before I go to bed, I'm gonna think of them. And when I wake up, I'm gonna think of them.
Hi, this is Phoenix City Councilman Sal DiCiccio, and welcome back to On the Issues. Remember in the last segment I said this is going to rock your world? Well, because it's going to give you the information that you need to protect yourself. This is the American Cancer Society. We've got Sarah Boerner here and Lisa Hall. Thank you, ladies, for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I know you got some great information to give people of how they're going to be able to protect themselves. But what is the second leading cause of cancer? Let's start off with that, and then let's go a little bit into your mission statement.
The second leading cause of cancer-related deaths in Arizona is colorectal cancer. That mirrors the national second leading cause of death, again, colorectal cancer for both men and women combined.
And then how many people a year get it?
Well, we're looking or expecting that in 2016, it's expected that about 2,500 individuals will be diagnosed with colorectal cancer here in Arizona. Of those individuals, about 980 of those will die from colorectal cancer if they are not properly treated and screened.
And this is just an easy thing for people to do, isn't it? I mean, it's like one of the easiest screenings you can do, isn't it?
It is. There's a number of screening methods. Individuals need to speak with their physicians to really find out what is the best screening method for them. For those individuals of average risk, we're looking looking and wanting individuals to get screened at the recommended screening age of 50. So 50 to 75 is the recommended screening age that individuals, men and women, should be looking to get screened. A number of tests that they can then use to get screened, again, considering that they're average risk individuals, non-symptomatic. Some of those tests include a high sensitivity fecal occult blood test, an FOBT test, or an FIT test, a fecal immunochemical test. These are two stool-based blood tests that the tests themselves are really just looking to identify the presence of blood in the stool. If that does occur, then that test is a positive test, and what's needed at that point is a colonoscopy for those individuals. The colonoscopy then will determine whether or not there is cancer that's present or non-cancerous polyps, which, that's what we really hope, that we're catching non-cancerous polyps that can then be removed.
So the tests are really simple. They're not that complicated, are they? We just got to get people to want to do it.
They're not. Depending on the kind of test that you take. As many people are more familiar with colonoscopies, those are the more invasive tests because it does require some bowel prep work, and the test itself is just more invasive than a take-home stool-based test, such as the FOBT or the FIT test. And that test really is done in the privacy of your own home, and then you would return that kit back to your clinician to have that tested. So those tests are non-invasive, but there are a number of tests that can be taken. A flexible sigmoidoscopy is another test that can be taken. And so again, it's a matter of an individual getting the right testing based on their medical history and their medical state.
And so you, like any great organization that you are, I mean, you've been around for quite a few years and you've done such fantastic work in our community. I've got to thank you.
Thank you.
For all the work that you do. I mean, you do the work of angels.
No, thank
I mean,
you.
you do.
Thank you.
Well, it's not an easy thing what you do, and it really comes down to testing and getting people prepared because a lot of these are so treatable.
Right.
What is the 80 by 2018?
So that's a national healthcare initiative that was developed through the partnership of the American Cancer Society, the CDC, and the National Colorectal Cancer Roundtable, which is an organization that was actually the National Colorectal Cancer Roundtable, an organization that was developed by the American Cancer Society and the CDC in 1997. 80 by 2018 is looking at the goal, a shared goal, of getting people of average screening age, or of the recommended screening age, I should say, screened, and having that screening rate increase to 80%. Currently in Arizona, the screening rate is about 63% based on the data that we're pulling, but it's about 63% for the general population. If we're looking at federally qualified health centers, organizations that really work and served at a higher rate those underserved populations, that rate almost cuts in half to about 34% and is on par with the national level. So you can see the work that really needs to be done there to get that screening rate up to 80% for all Arizonans that are in that screening age window.
Well, I think it's just common sense to tell the public, to get screened because you go through this, it could be just horrible for them. Their personal lives get disrupted. It's a terrible disease, but it's such a preventable disease.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And treatable.
And treatable.
Right.
Yeah, that makes it even more important.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it just on the cost side of it,
Right.
people think of costs and then they think about the pain and agony that they
Right.
have to go through.
Right.
And just on the cost side, a simple test, which a lot of these are inexpensive, aren't
Right.
they?
The FIT and the FOBT test are fairly minimal as far as a cost concerns with respect to a colonoscopy. However, if someone, again, does complete a FOBT or an FIT test and that test is positive, they will need to complete a colonoscopy. But with some of the changes in healthcare and the climate that we're in, colonoscopies fall under the bucket of preventative services, and so we want people to be aware of what those preventative services look like. Getting a colonoscopy is one of them, and getting screened, I should say, for colorectal cancer is one of them, and so we want people to know that in that state they should not have a cost share.
And how if someone wanted to get screened, what do they do? How do they do this?
So the first thing that they want to do is contact their physician, because we really want to make sure that that individual is, we want to have that individual understand their current medical state and their medical history. If they have a medical history of colorectal cancer, then the recommendation is going to be different, and it may even be that that person is needing to get screened before the age of 50. So that's a dialogue that they need to have with their physician. But in having that dialogue with their physician, they can then determine what is the next best step as far as testing, whether or not the FIT test, the FIT test, is the appropriate test to have, or whether a colonoscopy is the appropriate test to have.
So realistically, it's as simple as picking up the phone and making one phone call.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah,
It's
it really
as simple
is.
as that.
It really is. That's a bit of a challenge, though. I
Yeah, I
think
know.
that for many people, when they're feeling well, they don't think to call their physician, and so that's a bit of a challenge. But I think that we have to really understand the importance of preventative care and really exercising our right and our ability to really navigate the health system in such a way that we are being proactive about our health care. So.
Well, and the magic age is 50. That's when you really should. It's going to take me another 20 years to be 50. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Lucky you.
I know. But Sarah, tell us about the Relay for Life. Luckily, every year it's been in my district, but tell us a little bit about it, what you've accomplished out of that too, what it is.
Well,
You have more events.
yes. So the Relay for Life is the signature fundraising event for the American Cancer Society. And in the greater Maricopa County, we have over 30 events that happen annually. Now, we just went through our spring season, and I would like to give kudos to the Ahwatukee Foothills Relay. They raised almost $68,000
Wow.
in their event.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. A lot of times people, if they haven't heard of Relay, the first question I get asked is, how far do I have to run? Well, it's not a running race. It's an opportunity for a community to come together to raise money for the American Cancer Society, to celebrate survivors, to remember people that we have lost to the disease, and then to take action to try to find a cure and diminish suffering from the disease. And so typically, as I said, there's over 30. They're community-based events, and typically they're held on a football field that has a track, and well before the event occurs, the people create teams and they fundraise. And then the day of the event, they come to celebrate their efforts and the other things that I'd mentioned. And then the relay part comes in because we like to have at least one person from each team walking the track at all times. And so it's, in a sense, passing the baton to the next person. And that's why it's called a relay. But they're really fun, and there's food and music and
A lot of people too.
A lot of people, and it's really focused on the community. They don't all look the same, but they do have some exact similarities. But they're really great, and we do have events in the fall once it starts to cool down. I think we have 8 or 9 of them coming up in the fall, and anybody that wants to participate in those, they can go to relayforlife.org and put in their zip code or the city name or whatever, and we can find it.
And then we want to make sure too that people can contact you. So at the bottom of our screen here, we've got the contact information for the American Cancer Society. The other thing that I think that we need to bring up too, I think it's interesting, is that when you talk about community, cancer doesn't care.
No,
Right.
it does not
goes
discriminate.
anywhere.
Yeah,
It doesn't. It just goes.
it goes.
You know, and
Yep.
one of the things that you do, I think is just so impressive, is the level of awareness. Now everyone thinks, why do they do that? If you don't tell people like programs like this, and just tell them how easy it is just to pick up the phone. Pick up the phone, make that phone call,
Absolutely.
call your doctor, go on in. Most of it's covered by insurance anyways.
Right.
So especially when you're 50, you need to be able to do that.
Right, right.
So when you've got patients out there, Sarah, tell me a little bit more about how you help those patients.
We have so many different ways that the American Cancer Society helps patients. One is our Road to Recovery program, which transportation can really be a deterrent to people getting good care, because they either don't have friends or family that are available to transport them. They may try to transport themselves but realize that they don't feel well enough to do that. And so our Road to Recovery program matches volunteers with cancer patients going through treatment, and the volunteers donate their time and their passenger seat, and they drive the patients to and from their treatments, because treatment is critical to being able to overcome
And
the
prevention.
disease. And prevention.
Yeah, I
Right.
gotta keep saying that, because these things are also treatable once you get ahead of the curve.
Right.
Yep.
It's just when you allow it to lapse for so long.
Right.
that's where the problems become, and
Right.
the awareness that you do, like the 20 for 18,
Right.
80 for 2018. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are all part of the awareness.
Well, and there's some other things that we do that I think a lot of people might not know about. We also have a lodging program. So if a patient needs to travel to their treatment, but let's say they live in Sedona and they need to come to Phoenix for their treatment, we have partnered with hundreds of hotels across the country, and we have a very strong partnership with Extended Stay America.
Oh, really?
And and we provide free lodging to the patient and their caregiver while they're undergoing treatment.
Well, that's beautiful. I had no idea that you did that.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
have another lodging program that we're really proud of. It's called Hope Lodge. We have 32 of them across the country. We have 2 west of the Mississippi. One of them is located here in Phoenix, and it is an amazing place where people can come with their caregivers. They have their own individual rooms with 2 queen-size beds, and then the rest is a communal living type of situation, kitchen, living room, things like that. But people can come and stay at the Hope Lodges for as long as they need to while they're undergoing treatment.
And I have to tell you right now, I didn't know that you did that. I knew
Yeah.
most of this right here, but I didn't know most of that.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
that's just beautiful that
yeah,
you do this for these
because
families.
like you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
finance,
It's difficult.
it's expensive, and there are a lot of crazy things that go through people's heads. How am I going to pay for this? What about my job? What about my kids? So many different things. So it's just a way to
Especially
to
the elderly.
ease the burden. Yeah.
They're on fixed
Right.
incomes. They have a hard time. People that have no means
Yep.
make it even more difficult.
And ours is located on the Mayo campus, but that doesn't mean that a patient needs to be getting their treatment at Mayo. They could be getting their treatment anywhere
So,
in the
so
valley.
tell us, verbally, how they can contact you, and we're going to have it at the bottom of the screen, but I want to make sure that you also tell us, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, one way to get a hold of us and for really important cancer information is to call our 800 number, which is critical to know. It's 1-800-227-2345, so that's pretty easy. And that location has trained individuals there that can answer all different kinds of questions, whether it's lodging, transportation, any of that kind of thing. Cancer.org is also a really valuable resource for people who have been diagnosed and they're up at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're like,
Worried.
Right.
yeah, don't start Googling
No.
crazy things when you hear those words.
Just pick up
because-
the phone.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
call
Yes.
the American
Here
Cancer
locally, I can be reached at 602-952-7511, and that's here at the Phoenix office, which is located basically at Tatum and Bell.
And then Lisa, is that the same contact?
And
for
then
you?
for those organizations that would be interested in participating in 80 by 2018 and signing the pledge and really helping me fight this fight and helping the American Cancer Society fight this fight, I can be reached at 602-778-7674.
Thank you so much. Ladies, thank you so much. I've told you that you're the angels of our community, a lot of other
Oh, thank you.
nonprofits that are out there that do all this heavy lifting for everybody.
Well, thank you, and thank you
Thank
for
you for
helping
having
us
us.
spread the word, because there's a lot about ACS that people
Yeah.
don't know.
Don't know.
And I know we're going to be
Absolutely.
doing a test that Lisa got me into. So we'll talk about that at another
Yes.
time. But she's going to have me do one of those colorectal tests. So, and I guess we'll do something with that, I guess.
Absolutely.
But thank you for being on here.
Thank you for having
Thanks so
us.
much.
Appreciate it.
And thank you for listening in and watching it on the Issues program. I told you it was going to be a rocking program. It is. In one respect, we talked about how you can protect your finances on that property tax, and then the other part of it, how you can protect your body and why it's important that you take care of yourself. Thank you for listening in. This is Sal DiCiccio, Phoenix City Councilman, District 6.